The history of Egypt has been long and wealthy, due to the flow of the Nile River with its fertile banks and delta, as well as the accomplishments of Egypt's native inhabitants and outside influence. Much of Egypt's ancient history was a mystery until Egyptian hieroglyphs were deciphered with the discovery and help of the Rosetta Stone. Among the seven wonders of the ancient world is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Ancient Egyptian civilization coalesced around 3150 BC with the political unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under the first king of the first dynasty, Narmer. Predominantly native Egyptian rule lasted until the conquest by the Achaemenid Empire in the 6th century BC. In 332 BC, Macedonian ruler Alexander the Great conquered Egypt as he too led the Achaemenids and established the short-lived Macedonian Empire, which gave rise to the Hellenistic Ptolemaic kingdom, founded in 305 BC by one of Alexander's former generals, Ptolemy I Soter. The Ptolemies had to fight native rebellions and were involved in foreign and civil wars that led to the decline of the kingdom and its final annexation by Rome. The death of Cleopatra ended the nominal independence of Egypt, resulting in Egypt's becoming one of the provinces of the Roman Empire. Roman rule in Egypt, including Byzantine, lasted from 30 BC to 641 AD, with a brief interlude of control by the Sasanian Empire between 619 and 629, known as Sasanian Egypt. After the Muslim conquest of Egypt, parts of Egypt became provinces of successive caliphates and other Muslim dynasties. Rashidun Caliphate, 632 to 661. Umayyad Caliphate, 661 to 750, Abbasid Caliphate, 750 to 935, Fatimid Caliphate, 909-1171, Ayyubid Sultanate control in 1882 following the Anglo-Egyptian War. After the end of World War I and following the Egyptian Revolution of 1919, the Kingdom of Egypt was established. While a de jure independent state, the United Kingdom retained control over foreign affairs, defense, and other matters. British occupation lasted until 1954. With the Anglo-Egyptian Agreement of 1954, the modern Republic of Egypt was founded in 1953, and with the complete withdrawal of British forces from the Suez Canal in 1956. President Gamal Abdel Nasser, president from 1956 to 1970, introduced many reforms and created the short-lived United Arab Republic with Syria. His terms also saw the Six-Day War and the creation of the International Non-Aligned Movement. His successor, Anwar Sadat, president from 1970 to 1981, changed Egypt's trajectory, departing from many of the political and economic tenets of Nasserism, reinstituting a multi-party system and launching the Infida economic policy. He led Egypt in the Yom Kippur War of 1973 to regain Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, which Israel had occupied since the Six-Day War of 1967. This later led to the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty. Recent Egyptian history has been dominated by events following nearly 30 years of rule by the former President Hosni Mubarak. The Egyptian Revolution of 2011 deposed Mubarak and resulted in the first democratically elected president in Egyptian history, Mohamed Morsi. Unrest after the 2011 revolution and related disputes led to the 2013 Egyptian coup d'état, Morsi's imprisonment and the election of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as president in 2014. There is evidence of petroglyphs along the Nile terraces and in desert oases. In the 10th millennium BC, a culture of hunter-gatherers and fishermen was replaced by a grain-grinding culture. Climate changes and/or overgrazing around 6000 BC began to desiccate the pastoral lands of Egypt, forming the Sahara. Early tribal peoples migrated to the Nile River, where they developed a settled agricultural economy and more centralized society. By about 6000 BC, a Neolithic culture rooted in the Nile Valley. During the Neolithic era, several pre-dynastic cultures developed independently in Upper and Lower Egypt. The Badari culture and the successor Naqada series are generally regarded as precursors to dynastic Egypt. The earliest known Lower Egyptian site, Merimda, predates the Badarian by about 700 years. Contemporaneous Lower Egyptian communities coexisted with their southern counterparts for more than 2,000 years, remaining culturally distinct, but maintaining frequent contact through trade. The earliest known evidence of Egyptian hieroglyphic inscriptions appeared during the pre-dynastic period on Naqada III pottery vessels, dated to about 3200 BC. Early dynastic period and the Old Kingdom. Main articles. Early dynastic period of Egypt and Old Kingdom of Egypt. A unified kingdom was formed in 3150 BC by King Menes, leading to a series of dynasties that ruled Egypt for the next 3 millennia. Egyptian culture flourished during this long period and remained distinctively Egyptian in its religion, arts, language and customs. The Great Sphinx and the Pyramids of Giza, built during the Old Kingdom. The first 2 ruling dynasties of a unified Egypt set the stage for the Old Kingdom period, c. 2700–2200 BC, which constructed many pyramids. Most notably the 3rd dynasty Pyramid of Djoser and the 4th dynasty Giza pyramids. First Intermediate Period, the Middle Kingdom and the Second Intermediate Period. Main articles. First Intermediate Period of Egypt, Middle Kingdom of Egypt, and Second Intermediate Period of Egypt. The First Intermediate Period ushered in a time of political upheaval for about 150 years. Stronger Nile floods and stabilization of government, however, brought back renewed prosperity for the country in the Middle Kingdom c. 2040 BC. Reaching a peak during the reign of Pharaoh Amenemhat III. A second period of disunity heralded the arrival of the first foreign ruling dynasty in Egypt, that of the Semitic-speaking Hyksos. The Hyksos migrants took over much of Lower Egypt around 1650 BC and founded a new capital at Avaris. They were driven out by an Upper Egyptian force led by Ahmose I, who founded the 18th dynasty and relocated the capital from Memphis to Thebes. New Kingdom. Third Intermediate Period and Late Period. Main articles. New Kingdom of Egypt, Third Intermediate Period of Egypt, and Late Period of Ancient Egypt. The New Kingdom, c. 1550–1070 BC, began with the 18th dynasty, marking the rise of Egypt as an international power that expanded during its greatest extension, ruled and invaded by Libyans, Nubians and Assyrians, but native Egyptians eventually drove them out and regained control of their country. Achaemenid rule. Egyptian soldier of the Achaemenid army, circa 470 BCE. Xerxes I tomb relief. In the 6th century BC, the Achaemenid Empire conquered Egypt. The entire 27th dynasty of Egypt, from 525 BC to 402 BC, save for Petubastis III and possibly Psammeticus IV, was an entirely Persian-ruled period, with the Achaemenid kings being granted the title of pharaoh. Amartea's successful rebellion ended the first Achaemenid rule in Inaugura. Egypt's last significant phase of independence under native rulers. The 30th dynasty was the last native ruling dynasty during the Pharaonic epoch. It fell to the Persians again in 343 BC after the last native pharaoh, King Nectanebo II, was defeated in battle. Second Achaemenid conquest. The 31st dynasty of Egypt, also known as the Second Egyptian satrapy, was effectively a short-living province of the Achaemenid Empire between 343 BC to 332 BC. 10 After an interval of independence, during which 3 indigenous dynasties reigned, the 28th, 29th and 30th dynasty. Artaxerxes S3, 358 to 338 BC, reconquered the Nile Valley for a brief second period, 343 to 332 BC, which is called the 31st dynasty of Egypt, thus starting another period of pharaohs of Persian origin. A team led by Johannes Krause managed the first reliable sequencing of the genomes of 90 mummified individuals in 2017. Whilst not conclusive, because of the non-exhaustive time frame and restricted location that the mummies represent, their study nevertheless showed that these ancient Egyptians closely resembled ancient and modern Near Eastern populations, especially those in the Levant, and had almost no DNA from sub-Saharan Africa. What's more, the genetics of the mummies remained remarkably consistent even as different powers, including Nubians, Greeks, and Romans, conquered the empire. The Byzantines were able to regain control of the country after a brief Persian invasion early in the 7th century, until 639 to 642, when Egypt was invaded and conquered by the Arab Islamic Empire. The final loss of Egypt was of incalculable significance to the Byzantine Empire, which had relied on Egypt for many agricultural and manufactured goods. When they defeated the Byzantine armies in Egypt, the Arabs brought Sunni Islam to the country. Early in this period, Egyptians began to blend their new faith with their Christian traditions as well as other indigenous beliefs and practices, leading to various Sufi orders that have flourished to this day. These earlier rites had survived the period of Coptic Christianity. Muslim rulers nominated by the Islamic Caliphate remained in control of Egypt for the next 6 centuries, with Cairo as the seat of the Caliphate under the Fatimids. With the end of the Mamluks continued to govern the country until the conquest of Egypt by the Ottoman Turks in 1517, after which it became a province of the Ottoman Empire. The mid-14th century Black Death killed about 40% of the population of Egypt.